Top 3 bands Iggy Pop hated. Iggy Pop, whose real name is James Newell Osterberg Jr., is an American musician, singer, and songwriter. He was the vocalist and lyricist for the proto-punk band the Stooges, who began in 1967 and have disbanded and reformed numerous times since. He was dubbed the Godfather of Punk. He is well known for his songs The Passenger and Lust for Life. Famous for channeling rock and roll and Chicago blues influences with his band the Stooges in the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Michigan native created some of the most potent rock music the world had ever heard, influencing virtually every generation of punk, garage rock and grunge artists that was to come. He has been noted for his flamboyant and unpredictable theatrical antics, creative lyrics, and distinctive voice throughout his career. After the Stooges disbanded, Iggy Pop embarked on a solo career that was just as bold and even more varied. His first 2 solo albums, The Idiot and Lust for Life, both produced by David Bowie in 1977, were instrumental in shaping the post-punk movement. Pop has remained a cultural icon and a huge influence on a wide range of performers in a variety of genres despite his minimal monetary success. Raw Power, the Stooges' debut album, has influenced musicians such as Sex Pistols, The Smiths, and Nirvana. Given his long and illustrious career, it's no surprise that he has strong opinions about other bands and has never been afraid to voice them. Here are 3 bands he hated the most. Led Zeppelin. In 1995, Iggy Pop made some interesting comments about the state of American rock music, fashion, and more. Specifically, he's called out the legendary, endlessly influential Led Zeppelin, claiming that he could never stand them. This is hardly Pop's first diss, having famously insulted bands like The Clash and U2 across the years. As well as noting that he cannot stand Led Zeppelin, along with all other 60s and 70s music. When discussing the music scene in 1995 with Joshua Berger, he offered up this disparaging take: "The music is mostly 60s and 70s rehash, especially Led Zeppelin, who I never could stand in the first place. Bands often dress up their act in trendy outfits and adopt political stances, creating a sense of social belonging that can only be accessed by buying into a set of products, especially their own. But in reality, none of them have anything significant to say." U2. Iggy Pop and U2 embody 2 very distinct visions of rock music. By the time U2 hit their stride in the 80s and 90s, Iggy viewed them as part of the establishment, corporate rock stars with massive album sales and sold-out stadium tours. So, why did Iggy Pop hold such strong opinions about U2? Was it simply a difference in musical styles, or something more profound? When talking about free music in a capitalist society and how the industry's perception of music's worth has shifted in recent years, one major criticism was aimed at U2's collaboration with Apple. Earlier that year, they made their new album available for free to everyone with an iTunes account, causing a public outcry, mainly because there was no option to decline the download. The people who didn't want the free U2 download are essentially saying, "Don't force this on me," and they have a valid point, Iggy noted. When you buy music from an artist, it's like a ritual, you're giving them love. It's your decision to give or withhold, and it's more than just about the money. But in this case, since that choice was taken away, some felt deprived of that experience, and they have a valid argument. The Clash. By the late 70s, when British punk was exploding, Iggy wasn't impressed by the newer generation of bands. "I never fully bought into some of the British punk bands that emerged in the late 70s. As the movement grew, I found myself increasingly put off by the so-called sincere punks. I reacted better to punk than I had to the hippie movement, but over time, I just couldn't stand the ones who were overly earnest. I never believed them, and I still don't." Take bands like The Clash, for example. They seemed like they were out to make the world politically correct, but only if people kept buying their records. I was never drawn to that sense of self-righteousness. I preferred the more reckless, sneering bands. I also came to realize that it was a good thing I wasn't making that kind of music anymore. In rock, especially the kind fueled by youthful rebellion, the lifespan of a generation is about 5 years, not 25. It would have been worse if I was still trying to recreate the sound of my first album, but doing it less effectively.